Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? I can't believe that I'm actually vlogging at night for once instead of during the day. I'm like wide awake. It's been a long day. I've been thinking a lot about, I usually get right into the video and start talking about what I did during the day and stuff, but I've been like thinking a lot about my friend Jimmy that passed away a couple years ago. I was looking at that. There's a nutcracker out in front of this climb place, and they have like these lights around it, like you're climbing up the side of the building with these lights on. I have the heat so pumped up high in here, but it feels good, but I need like a little bit of air coming through. I've been thinking a lot about my friend Jimmy that passed away. And then I was thinking about him before I started vlogging, and I was like, I'm almost positive he passed away on the 7th, which would be tomorrow. And I think his birthday was today. And I don't know if subconsciously, like I know that, like in my mind I know that, and so like seeing the date has kind of like triggered that for me or something. But I've been like thinking a lot about him the last couple days. He was such a dear friend of mine, and such a strong example of sobriety. And I remember when, during the 4 years that I wasn't going to meetings, like he was just such a support system during all of that to me. And I remember like after that, when I came back in the rooms, he was a lot younger than me. I think he was probably in his late 20s when he passed away. And like I remember I gave a lead when I came back. So, you know, I kind of came in back with this passion, you know, and I've talked a lot about that on here. And I was going to 14 meetings a week. I was going to 2 a day, and I was real active, and I still am, but just not anything compared to that. And I remember I got asked to give a lead, and I was really nervous about it. And he wasn't like ever like a super emotional person. Like he always was just very calm and very kind of peaceful and quiet. And I remember at the time I asked my sponsor to come, and he couldn't end up coming because he was sick. And then I asked Tanya to come, and Tanya ended up being out of town. And then I asked Jimmy to come. Those were like the only 3 people that I asked to come. And like Tanya had this trip planned, and so she couldn't be there for it. And I was super nervous. And I remember Jimmy came, and it wasn't like a meeting that he typically ever went to. It was like a meeting that I went to regularly. And he sat like in the front row. And I remember like, so when I was speaking, I was like looking right at him. And, you know, we had shared so many stories with each other that it just felt very comfortable and very safe. And he really helped me come back to learn how to speak like that, because I just hadn't shared my story like that in a long time. And I think that's probably something that's different today in my life versus where I was in my life 30 years ago, is that the friendships that I've had in my life in the last, let's say, 10 to 15, 20 years, like, I'm proud of those friendships. Like, they mean a lot to me. And his was definitely a friendship that I was proud of. And, like, I felt really honored to be part of his life. And he had started, like, a cleaning business, like, a year before he passed away, like a house cleaning business. He was really good, actually. And so Alex and I had talked about maybe getting somebody to clean our house at the time. I don't remember, but I remember his, like, rates were really fair. And I was like, this is kind of unbelievable. And so he had cleaned our house for a couple months. Well, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. Like, every other week. And I remember the first time he came, I actually shared this in a video the other day. The first time he came, he was like, now, are there any, like, drawers that are like, not that he was gonna go through our drawers, but he's like, is there any places that you don't want me to, like, you know, look in? Like, everybody's got, like, you know, secrets, like, basically, you know, like, personal items kind of things. Not like a safe or, you know, money, but, like, he was like, you know, sometimes, like, I find things, you know, that, like, are embarrassing to me or to other people. And I was like, well, yeah, there's probably some places, you know, that. So anyway, but I'll never forget, like, Alex came home that night, and he had been there for, like, 10 or 12 hours. He was there forever, and I felt so bad. I mean, he, like, cleaned every corner of our floors, and I mean, the bathroom was just unbelievable. He literally took, like, shampoo bottles and, like, cleaned them off. Like, you know how, like, sometimes if a shampoo bottle or, you know, whatever has, you know, shower gel has been in the shower for a long time, it kind of has, like, that, you know, like that foam on top of it. He, like, cleaned each bottle off. It was like everything was just sparkling clean. It was crazy. And but then I remember it was like Christmas Eve. He and I were talking. I think he was supposed to come on Christmas Eve, like either the 30th or the 31st. And he was like, I'm really sick. Like, I just don't feel well. I have this, like, cough that I just can't get rid of. And I was like, Jimmy, don't come. Don't even worry about it. He was like, I know, but I feel like I'm letting you down. I was like, Jimmy, don't even worry about it. And so, like, I knew his mom really well too, and so she called me. So that would have been like the 30th or the 31st, and she called me on, like, the 2nd. I said the other day that, like, in my Peter Does Stuff video, that I didn't think I knew he was in the hospital, but that wouldn't have been correct, because I can remember she called me and told me that he had really bad headache. And like I said, like, Jimmy wasn't somebody that complained a lot, or, I mean, there wasn't, like, a lot of, like, I wouldn't say he was flat emotionally. I mean, he was hilarious and laughed and stuff, but, like, he just wasn't somebody that ever complained. I really cannot think of one time that I ever remember him complaining. Just super, like, truly one of the kindest people, gentlest people I have ever met in my entire life. And his mom called me, and she said that his head had started hurting really bad at home, and that he was, like, didn't know what to do. And so she took him to the hospital, and they had admitted him. And then they had found out that he had meningitis. That was probably on the 3rd or the 4th. And then and I was like, please update me and let me know what's going on with him and whatever. And then the next time I talked to her was, she called me and she said, I'll never forget this. I was, like, in my bedroom, and I was making the bed, and I said, she called me and she said, we're asking for people that want to come and say goodbye. And I was like, what are you talking about? And like, he was not well, and he had really, like, a strange kind of, like, meningitis. And And it happened like real quick. And so I can remember getting off the phone with her, and I just was like, is this, like, I can't believe this is real. Like, I literally had just talked to him on the phone, and like, I just couldn't believe that it was real. And I was a mess, and I called Tanya, and I was like, I was telling her, because Tanya knew him too, and I was like, I can't. Maybe she was at that lead. Maybe she. There was another lead that I gave that she couldn't be at, but. Oh, no, he had come to our home group a couple times, and I think that she had met him there. I think he met me at my home group, like, maybe a couple times, but anyway. I called her and I said, I can't do this. I knew that he was at the same hospital that my mom had been at, and he was in the ICU unit, and I think like that kind of like freaked me out a little bit. And I was like, I can't go say goodbye to him. I don't know how to say goodbye to him, you know? And I had lost quite a few people in between my mom and Jimmy, like, you know, but I would hear about it, you know, like, oh, so-and-so died of an overdose, or so-and-so this, but like, I hadn't been in a situation similar to my mom's where I had to go in and say goodbye. And I was like, I can't do this. And she was like, yes, you can. Yes, you can, and you are going to. And she said, Jimmy was a really, really good friend to you, and he would have done this for you. And she was right, and I knew it. And I was like, you're right, I can do this. She's like, just put something on. I said, I look horrible. I haven't taken a shower. She goes, Peter, it's Jimmy, it doesn't matter. And I literally just like threw on a hoodie and jeans and went in there. And then I remember I like was walking into ICU, and like outside of the ICU unit, which is intensive care, there was like this room, and I looked in, and it was like his family, and they were all sitting in there, and his mom saw me, and she like caught my eye, and she like came outside real quick, and I literally just like lost it as soon as I saw her, and I just like hugged onto her for like dear life, and I was like, I can't believe this is going on. And she was so sweet, and she was so kind to me, and I said to her, I said, you're not supposed to be consoling me, I'm supposed to be consoling you. And she was like, no. And this is what I talk about, like what I mean, like people that have such grace in moments like that, you know, calm and peaceful grace. And she's such an incredible woman, very strong faith. And she said, no, she was like, that's not how it works. She was like, we console each other in these times, you know. And so she was like, I'm going to take you back. She kind of just let me back. I don't really remember her saying, like, do you want to go back? I think she probably did ask that, but she was like, she led me back to his room, which was the exact same room that my mom had been in. Which that was really kind of weird and hard. And so I went in there, and he was in a coma. And I said this in my video the other day on my Peter Does Stuff channel, like, I mean, Jimmy and I would hug when I would see him and stuff like that, but like, he wasn't somebody that like, we never held hands, we never dated, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that. And I remember I sat, and she left me alone, and I sat down next to him, and I just kind of like took his hand in mine, and I like held his hand, and I was like, you know, thank you for being such an incredible friend, and thank you for allowing me to be part of your life, like. I was like, I'll miss you, and I just was like, it's like, I was in total shock. I couldn't believe it. I kind of can't still believe it. And yeah, it was devastating. It was really weird. Like right after that, I had this dream. And I'm a big believer in dreams, like spirits visiting us in dreams and things like that. And I had this dream, and there was like this big glass wall, and he was on like one side of it, and it was like this really clean like hospital room, but the hospital room almost kind of looked like a massive like modern hotel room, and it had like these like blackish gray like concrete floors, and then he was in this huge bed. It wasn't like a hospital bed, it was like a king size bed, and there were these women that were like, it was so bizarre because it was very spiritual, and they were like doing these like oil treatments on him and things like that, and he was sitting there and he was so peaceful, and like he knew that I was there, and he was like talking to me, but I wasn't in the room, if that makes sense. And these women were like dressed like in these long white kind of like outfits with these like things on their head, kind of like what you might imagine like a nurse like 60 years from now to look like, or something, you know, in the future. They're very futuristic, kind of like these nurses' outfits. They're all white, and he was in all white. And in the like on the other side of the glass was just like this field of like flowers and whatever, and I knew like in my heart that they were preparing him to go over there. Like I could just feel that, like I knew that. And I told his mom, actually, that was like, you know, way after, and I saw her, I mean, it wasn't way after, that was probably like a week later or so. And I can remember I ended up talking to her like a couple months later, and I told her about my dream. I said, I had the weirdest dream. I said, I don't know if it'll mean anything to you, but like it was very vivid. Like I knew he was okay, and I knew that he was like going over to the other side, and yeah, it was just bizarre. Isn't it weird how we kind of like get prepared for death ourselves? You know, that I can remember the very first funeral that I ever went to was my my grandfather on my dad's side, and I was 5 at the time that he passed away, and I actually was visiting my aunt and uncle, and I would go up there for like 2 weeks in the summer, and I would stay while my mom and dad, this was when they were still married, that was like the year before they got separated, while they were they would go to these tennis championships in Indianapolis. It used to be called the clay courts, and then it became like this RCA tennis championships, but like a lot of famous people would come. And so I would go up there and stay with my aunt on the farm for 2 weeks, and I would plant corn next to her house, and she made me a paper wedding dress one time, which I have the picture of right over there. Oh my God, I should pull it out and show you guys. It's so funny. Oh, you know what? Maybe that was in my Explorer, and I don't have it in here. Yeah, I bet that is it. But anyway, she was like one of those people for me. Like, I don't know if she knew from a young age that I was going to be gay or not, or if she even knew what that meant, or we used to play down in the basement. They had this whole basement that was finished, and my older cousin, who lives in Indianapolis now, she's like probably my one other cousin that I'm close to next to Caroline, and she had a brother too growing up. They were like the two that I was the closest with on my dad's side. But anyway, she would play like she was a dancer in a bar, like a go-go dancer, and I would be the bartender, and so my aunt would come to the bar, and I would be like behind the bar, like serving up drinks, and she'd come and order like Shirley Temples and stuff, cracks me up. But I used to have so much fun with her in the summer. Actually, she's the reason why I got started sleeping with a fan. She and my Uncle Dave, my mom's brother-in-law, because my Uncle Dave always took a nap with a fan. And, but my aunt in Fort Wayne, she, like, I don't think they had maybe central air or something when I was growing up. I honestly don't remember. But they had fans in all of their windows. And, like, the sound of that whir, like that, you know, the whirl of the fan, like, helped me fall asleep. And it was because of that I started sleeping with a fan. And I would go to Fort Wayne in the summers, and it was like, I mean, it would be like 110 or 105 in the summers, you know, and that was always in August. I know that it was around my dad's birthday, which is close to the end of August, because it coincided with my parents, my mom having a 40th birthday party for my dad. And on the way home from that birthday party, they had it near Bloomington, Indiana on Lake Monroe. It was like 4 couples or 3 couples or something. They all stayed in this condo overnight. That was when my dad told my mom that he was unhappy and that he wanted to leave, and if things didn't get better, then by January he was going to leave or something like that, or he told her he was going to leave in January. I remember that. My mom told me that, and so did my dad. And then right after that, my grandfather passed away, and of a massive heart attack. He was a homicide detective, a retired homicide detective in Fort Wayne. Actually, the same aunt has a magazine with him on the cover of it. He solved like the first like major murder in Fort Wayne. And so anyway, he would get up every morning super early, like 6 o'clock in the morning, or earlier than that, and go golfing with his friend, and then they would go eat. I think most mornings they would go eat, but like some mornings they would go golf, not every morning, but they would go eat breakfast like every morning at some place, I think, is the story that I remember. And he was driving, and he had a massive heart attack and veered off the road. And his friend actually like had to like steer the car like over to the side of the road for them to stop. And my dad, like, right after that, somebody called him, like one of his siblings called him. And my dad said he was getting ready. I'll never forget this. He's told me this story so many times. He said he was getting ready to go for a run, because my dad started running that year, and he ran for many, many years, marathons and all kinds of stuff. He's always been very athletic. And he was like getting ready to walk out the door, and the phone was ringing, and he kind of stopped for a second, and he just had this like insane feeling that his dad had passed. He just had the feeling in his heart. And he left without, like, I don't think he checked the message or anything, and he just left, and then came back to get the call afterwards. And like while he was running, like, he said goodbye to his, no, maybe, I can't, honestly, I mean, 43 years it's been, you know, I can't remember the exact story. Maybe they said he had been taken to the hospital or something. My dad knew that, and my dad knew he wasn't going to make it or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But it was either he didn't hear the message at all, and he just knew in his heart he was gone. He like had this weird feeling about it, or that he got a call and they said that he was being taken to the hospital. And so my dad left to go on this run, and he said that while he was on the run, he said goodbye to his dad. Like, he knew his dad wasn't gonna make it. And I'll never forget, he told me, he was like, I just ran and cried and, you know, thanked my dad for being a good dad. And it's so weird how we all grieve differently, you know. And I remember that funeral. You know, my grandfather had been in World War II in Germany. And actually, my grandma got pregnant right before my grandfather left. And my dad did not meet his dad until I think he was like 3 or 4. And because that's when he came back. My dad always has all these funny stories. Like, there was some article that they found in the paper. They're always finding these old articles, these old magazine clips, he and his sisters. And his one brother has passed away since. They found this article that, like, the church or the town or something donated money to, like, there was something that happened where, like, my grandma had to, like, I don't know, petition or something to get like money every month because she was taking care of 5 kids alone. And so they ended up giving her money, and it was like $3 or something like that a month, or $1.50 or something that she got a month to like pay for her rent. My dad was extremely poor growing up, extremely poor. And he had an outhouse till he was 21. And he just like, he was like, we got one school outfit a year to wear, and we had to make that last, shoes and everything. I mean, my dad is literally the one that told the stories of, I had to walk, 10 miles up. I mean, he would tell those stories, and they were true. And I think because my dad was the youngest, and then when my grandfather came back and then he became a homicide detective, I think financially they did a little bit better. I know like later in life my grandparents didn't financially suffer like that as much, but yeah, I remember going to that funeral, and it was huge. And I remember they did like the gun salute and everything, because he had been in the military. And I remember they, did the flag, and they folded the flag and gave it to my grandmother. And it was like over the coffin in the funeral home. And or maybe at the funeral, I don't know. But I remember my dad at one point, I had like a little tie and stuff on, and he took me into the bathroom, and he said, he like just like bawled, cried for like 5 minutes, and then just stopped. And he was like, that's between you and I. And what's so weird is that, like, my dad's like a really emotional person. Like, he has no problem like showing affection, or he hugs Alex and I, kisses us, on the cheek when I come in the house and whatever. I mean, he's super affectionate, very emotional. I've witnessed my dad cry many times. I don't know why in that situation. I think at that point he kind of felt like he had to be the man of the family or something. I don't know, but he was just like, that's between you and I. And we walked out, and I don't remember seeing my dad cry again at that funeral. But then, where am I at on time? But then, my grandma died, my mom's mom, when I've talked so much about that on here, about the whole situation, going to my aunt's house, and they were like, my mom and my aunt were so intoxicated, and everybody was just like bringing casseroles and food, and I don't really remember a whole lot of it. I mean, Caroline at that time would have been 16, and she had a really serious boyfriend, and the only reason I remember, it's just so funny. I mean, I remember that boyfriend that she had because he was her boyfriend for like a couple years. But the only reason that I remember him, he was a really nice guy, like football player and all this, like very smart, really nice guy. The only reason I really remember him is because he taught me how to tie a tie. So I learned how to tie a tie, and he could tie a tie. I learned how to tie a tie at going to my grandmother's funeral. And I remember it was like, it's the weirdest thing. I remember it kind of like it was yesterday. We were at my aunt and uncle's house. I can see myself standing there in the entryway, and I have this untied tie. And it was Caroline and I, and we were standing there. And okay, so what had happened was they had asked us if we wanted to go. They were going to have a closed casket for my grandma, and they asked if Caroline and I wanted to come ahead and say goodbye to our grandma, or if we wanted to come after the casket was closed. And we both said we wanted to come after the casket was closed. And I would have been, Caroline and I figured this out, I would have been 13 at the time, and she would have been 16 at the time. Like and a half, 13 and a half and 16 and a half. So, I feel like I was younger when it happened, but I wouldn't have been, unless it was the year before and I was 12 and a half and Caroline was 15 and a half. It wouldn't have made sense because Caroline was driving. So, I remember, where am I at? Okay, I can't really see how much time I have. It just like blurs together, the little white lights at the top. But, I remember we were leaving and I didn't have the tie tied, and we were like, the funeral had started and we like needed to be there. And it was literally like a 10-minute drive where my grandma was. I had my mom's viewing at the same place that I had my grandma's viewing at, or that they had my grandma's viewing at. And I remember we were like running late and we had to like be there. And, I had this like tie in my hand and I was like, I don't have it tied. And I can remember my dad used to tie my ties and then I would just like slip them over. It stopped, I knew it would. You know, my dad would tie my ties for me, like with it on, and then, or like he would tie it himself and then hand it to me, and then I would put the tie on and just slide it up, you know, do that deal. So, I think like I was real weird about like not wanting like a fake tie. Like when I was real little, I would have the ties that you just clipped on. But as I got like older, like 8+, like I didn't want the fake ties. I wanted like a real tie, but I didn't know how to tie it, right? So my dad obviously wasn't there because I was with Caroline. And so I can remember Caroline was like, well, I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, I guess I could call my dad or something. And her boyfriend was like on his way over. And so he showed up and he went in the bathroom and taught me how to tie a tie. And ever since that day, I've been able to tie a tie. I can tie a fierce tie. And it's all because of him. I don't know how I remember that so vividly, but I do. And then we went to the funeral home, and I remember going inside and like just like walking in normal pace, you know, like thinking like the casket was gonna be closed and on and on and on. And I can remember getting there and walking in and the casket was still open. They had decided to keep it open, and I like freaked out. And I like backed up into like the entryway of the funeral home, and I was like bawling, crying, and they literally could not get me in to the funeral home. And that was really like, I remember like right now, it's so weird, like I can see my grandfather in the casket. I mean, I can really see it in my head. But I don't know, for some reason, if it was maybe because I wasn't as close with him as I was with my grandma or something. I don't know, like, but like I remember him being in the casket like the whole time that I was at the funeral, and me just kind of like, we were all like walking around, and everybody, like my aunts were standing up there and stuff, and it just was, it didn't seem like, I don't know, it didn't seem like weird or something. But with my grandma's, it was completely different. I like freaked out. And I can't remember, I feel like my dad and my stepmom showed up, and I think somebody called, and so my dad came with my stepmom, and she wasn't going to come into the funeral anyway, and so she just didn't feel like it was appropriate at that time. Later on, if it had been a different situation, I think she would have. Like, she and my mom got along very, very well. They never, like, my mom and my, you know, when she was drinking, would have some choice words to say about my stepmom, but like as I got older and they parented, my mom and my stepmom were really the ones that like arranged doctor's appointments and rides and things like that, because my dad was like, at that point, so busy working that it was like my mom or my stepmom. So they talked a lot. And I've told a story on here about how my stepmom's the one that got my mom to go into the hospital the last time. But anyway, she, at that point, she didn't feel like, well, that can't be, hold on a second. No, yeah, they would have been together then, yeah. So she didn't come in, and I think my dad came in and had me go out to the car with her and sit there in the car. And then, like, finally, I can remember, like, my dad came out and he was like, are you sure you don't want to come in? And I was like, yeah, I want to come in. And so I came in, and I can remember, like, he took me to the door. Like, he came inside and he took me to the door of the room, and then my aunt and my mom came up and they, like, walked me to the casket. And I remember we walked up there, and they said, you know, she just looks like she's asleep, which she did. And then they were like, you know, if you want to touch her hand or whatever, you can. I can't really remember if I did or not. I feel like I did, but I don't know. Sometimes these memories get hazy the older I get, honestly. I can see myself standing there at the casket, and I can see my, like, grandma always had, like, the most perfect nails, but I don't remember if I did or not. But it's like, I think like going through experiences like that to some degree kind of prepare you. Like, you know, one of the things that's interesting to me is that, like, that I did go to those funerals at 5 and at 13. Like, I think I remember my mom telling me that she and Kathy did not go to their dad's funeral. I'm almost positive I remember that. Which now, of course, I don't know, you know, but I feel like my mom told me that because they would have been so young when he passed away. But I would have been the same age when I went to my grandfather's funeral. So, you know, the other thing that's weird is I don't remember my mom at my grandfather's funeral, like, at all. That's so weird. I don't know why I would, though. I mean, I can see my aunts there, and you know, I can see them kind of standing by the casket. See the room. I can even see the bathroom. That's so strange, isn't it? Weird, the things you remember. But I think, like, I think those things, well, that's what I was going to say, is I don't see a lot of, like, younger people, like kids, at funerals anymore. I just don't. Like, I don't really, even like relatives, I don't feel like the funerals that I go to or have been to that I remember that. Not recently. I don't know. But I feel like those funerals that we go to when we're like younger and we're like, you know, getting older, or like prepare us for like when we're adults, you know, and it's almost kind of like what's expected of you going to a funeral today. It's like you go, you stand in line at the viewing, you know, if you can. I mean, well, today in the world that we live in with COVID, they're not even having really funerals, are they? Except for like, you know, just small family members, a small amount of family members and stuff. But, you know, I think, which is so sad to me, you know, that you can't. Speaking of sad, I don't even know what to make of this stuff that happened in Washington, D.C. today. Very scary. You know, my husband came home, and very rarely will he say things about being afraid, you know, being Latino or whatever, but he expressed some fear today, and I think just general fear. I don't know. I feel like the world is... It makes me very sad. It makes me, I feel like things are getting worse, not better. And that's not really how it should be, right? Like, I don't know. We seem like a world divided. I don't have any of the answers. I think more now than ever, though, it's time for us to listen to people's fears. And acknowledge those fears. I remember going to my friend Kathy's viewing, and actually no, I'm sitting here saying I remember going to Kathy's viewing, but I'm like, I can see myself talking to Kathy at her viewing, so it was her son's viewing. I waited in line like an hour at that viewing. And I think like these things that we go through, these funerals and stuff, prepare us, you know, for what to say. Just so strange, because it's like, what do you say? You know, what's the appropriate thing to say? You know, somebody taught me one time, well, just share a positive memory, you know, or just say how sorry you are. But when you've been on the receiving end of that, it literally is like a blur of people that just go by you. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I mean, it's so nice that they come and, you know, people come and they pay their respects. I'll never forget this. It's like, I don't know why this meant so much to me, but my mom's viewing was over. We had like such a long viewing for my mom. It was like 4 hours. It was something ridiculous. It was like 4 to 8 or something. And literally, it was non-stop the whole time. And I can remember my friend said to me, because she kind of coached me through this whole like thing of like what was going to be hard. And I can remember she said something to me about, it wasn't like the viewing. I can't remember what she said, but whatever she said, it was like the viewing was really hard for me. I just was like numb, and it just was like the weirdest thing. It was also weird who like emotionally set me off. And so this is what happened at the very end. So this woman came running in at the end, like we were closing things up and taking the pictures down and whatever. And like we had pictures set up, and then there was like the, you know, the DVD of the pictures going around, and that was like on the TV screens. And this woman comes running in, and I'll never forget. She was like she was older, and she was like in a tennis skirt and tennis shirt and stuff. And she said, you know, "Are you Peter?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I saw the obituary in the paper." And she said, "I used to play tennis with your mom." And she said, "I loved your mom so much." She was like totally, I don't know why this is making me cry, because this is where I think like our interactions with people on a daily basis, we don't even recognize, you know, like people that we see on a daily basis that we don't even like really think that their lives would be affected by it. And I remember she came in there and she said, "I saw the obituary tonight, and I knew that I had to come and say, you know, I had to say hi to you, and that, you know, how much your mom meant to me, because I played tennis with her for years and years and years." And she was like, "I didn't think that I would get here in time." And it was so weird, because I was sitting on like these steps. It's like these steps, I don't know why there were steps here. I don't feel like it's 2 stories. But anyway, you know, there were steps, and I was talking to this friend of mine from high school that came with her sister and her mom, which was so nice. And I was talking to them, and so this woman came up to me, and it was like this God moment thing. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It just was like this moment, you know, like I forgot how much my mom loved to play tennis. Like, she loved tennis. And so this woman gave me like this huge hug and stuff, and it just felt like, I will never forget, it just felt like so over. Like, I just couldn't believe that it was like over. And she walked out, and I remember I looked down, and as she opened the door to like walk out, Susie was standing there. And I didn't even know that Susie was coming, because she's in Colorado. And I said, "How did you get here, Susie?" And she had helped with the funeral and stuff, and I didn't even like, I didn't think she was coming. That I knew she was going to come, but I didn't think she was going to come for like the viewing or the funeral. She was like, "I would never have missed this." I think sometimes we don't realize how much we mean to people, you know? I need to call Susie, by the way, but I've been so emotional lately. I don't know what is going on with me. Like, every day that I wake up, it takes me a good 20 to 30 minutes to kind of like pull it together. I don't know if it's like seasonal affect or whatever, but I have been so sad when I have woken up. I don't really know what it is. I'm not like sad like I miss my mom, I'm sad. I'm not like sad like because of this. I just feel sad when I wake up. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't feel like clinical depression. I feel like just sad, like down, you know? And I really do think so much of it has to do with the weather. Like, I really, really do. I didn't believe that for a long time until, like, I was kind of feeling that way. And then we went to Florida for something in the winter. I don't remember what it was. And it just was like, oh, I do know what it was. It was this, these people that we were friends with. I think I've told that story on here before, and they asked us to come to the opening at their like business that they had. They shut off this, that was in West Palm, and everybody was so happy, and I just was like, I think waking up every day to sunshine is got to be helpful. I really do. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's why so many older people like go to Arizona and Florida and places, because I know it like helps them with like their, you know, health issues and stuff, but also at the same time it's like maybe it like helps with their daily mental health. I remember my mom was somebody that suffered from, I think, some pretty serious stuff anyway. But, you know, I can remember when I was younger, my mom, I would say, like, she would say something about, like, we didn't call it seasonal affect disorder. I can't remember what we used to call it. We used to call it seasonal depression, I think. And she would say, oh my God, she's like, this is seasonal depression. It's like, I can't walk outside. It's too cold. She's like, I've got to go to the mall. Because she would walk, you know, every day. And so she would go to the mall and stuff. And she was a mall walker. She cracks me up. She took all these polls, like, you know, like, and I was like, how do you get picked for these polls, Mom? She'd always be telling me about them. She'd say, oh, well, the person at the mall walks around with me and asks me questions while I'm walking at the mall. I'm like, okay. So anyway, but she would say to me, like, God, like, I really am feeling this, like, seasonal depression. It's like, just, it's so bleak and depressing outside, so sad outside, you know? And I'd be like, what do you mean, Mom? It's so pretty, the snow and the, you know, whatever. And she'd say, oh, yeah, the snow is pretty. She was like, but it just kind of brings me down. And I would say, well, I don't really feel that seasonal depression stuff or seasonal affect disorder today that we call it. And she'd say, well, you will as you get older, trust me. She said, you won't look at it the same way. And I don't know when it changed for me, but I don't. Like, I am so, like, right now, it's like, I don't think we're going to get any big snow this year anyway. I mean, I wish, to be honest with you, we would, because I think the snow is pretty and at least it gives you something to look at. But this grayness, I mean, you wake up and it's gray all day long, and you go to bed and it's gray and it's cold. It's just cold and gray all day long, you know? And you're lucky if you get some rain, and then that just makes it miserable outside to go anywhere. And then usually in Indiana now, we don't get snow, we get ice and sleet. So it's like, just give me April. I'm ready for April. April showers bring me flowers. So anyway. I think the first major renovation that we're going to do to our house, which is like not really major renovation, is I think in April we're going to, March or April, we're going to hire a landscaper to come out and give us an estimate on our walk, because I want to make it look really pretty. I told Alex I was going to put a koi pond out there, and he looked at me like I was crazy. I said, I'm just joking. But I want, like, well, I mean, I don't know what he wants, but he kind of doesn't really care, to be honest. I think it would be nice to have, like, 4 Korean boxwoods, like, trimmed so that they're kind of, like, squarish, going down each way. I think it would look pretty with snow in the winter. I think, and then to have some really nice lamps, like, because the lamps that we have, like the well, we don't have them anymore. I got rid of all of them. I threw them all away. But the people across the street, they have like really nice solar lamps that do light up. So I might ask them where they got theirs, because they seem like not just like $10 ones from Walmart. And like ours never really worked. And maybe it's because our front porch lights are too bright. I don't know. But man, I have cried tonight on this vlog. But I think that's the first thing that we are going to do. That was just a little sidestep over. I think that's the first thing that we're going to do is, what do you call it? Do the front walkway, because I don't think that'll be too expensive. And then that will be done, which will be nice. I'd love to paint my door some fun color or whatever. Sarah just did that. Caroline, my cousin, hers is teal blue right now. She usually paints it. She had red for a while. I would love to do that, but like our neighborhood, we can't do that. You have to, you know, because of the HOA, it has to like all look the same and whatever. And then I don't know what we'll do next. I mean, it'll honestly depend on if we have any kind of money saved to do anything next. I really need to clean out the basement. We need to finish the basement, because if we could put in a bathroom down there. Oh, Caroline put in a bathroom in her basement, and it is so nice. It has like a shower, and it's a closet. It's like so nice. And it was like actually like just like a walkthrough to her storage area down there. And I was like, so she was showing it to me, and it's like beautiful shower, and it's got like woodwork around it, these beautiful white tiles. And she was like, yeah, it wasn't too bad. She was like, I hired the contractor that we use, because they turned their dining room into like her dad's bedroom before. Now it's a dining room again, but they like closed it off with like a Jack and Jill bathroom and stuff, so that when he was living with them, like he could have privacy up there. And so she's like, Caroline's like, you've got to finish that basement so you can have like an extra room down there, and then you can have a bathroom. And then that way, when you want someone to come and work on the bathroom upstairs, well, first of all, you'll have 2 bathrooms in your house. Well, 2.5, because we have the powder room downstairs. But she was like, that way you can, when somebody comes to work on the bathroom upstairs to redo that, you'll have the bathroom downstairs, and then you guys don't have to like go stay in a hotel or something. I would love to have enough money where we could just check into a hotel for a couple months and have them redo it, but unfortunately I don't have that kind of money. So she's probably right. That's probably the first thing that we need to do. Anyway, well, listen, I'm gonna get off here now and listen to a little bit of my audiobook before I go to bed. So thank you for listening to my sad stories tonight. Now I think we're all prepared for the inevitable. No, but sometimes I get sad just thinking about people that are not here anymore, and sometimes it motivates me to realize, like, if they were here for just, you know, an hour, and I know that they would say, the majority of them, because they were such livers, you know, livers of life, you know, like, you've got to go out and just live the best life you possibly can, and you've got to make it mean something. And, you know, and my mom was somebody that led with love anyway, and so was my aunt, and I know that they were such believers in that. So anyway, feels good. Feels good to, you know, get some of that stuff out and cry and just cleanse, I think. So anyway, nobody else has told you this today. I love you guys very, very much. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. But I love you guys very, very much. And I will see you tomorrow. Be kind to one another. Bye. Love ya.